So when I wanted to start learning how to speedrun and stream it on Twitch, I couldn't find all the information I needed. I could find it scattered throughout the internet, but it was never all in one place, and sometimes the information was outdated or it would conflict with one another. Someone would say do thing A, another person would say thing B, and I didn't know enough to determine which one was right. So I wanted to kind of put things in one list, and this won't be the best information you can find. You're going to find better tutorials on lighting, on equipment, on everything. But this is enough to get you started. And then once you get the ball rolling, if you find that something is lacking, you can look online and find better tutorials for each of the subjects. So as we begin, I'm going to show you my actual physical setup here. So I'm going to move the camera. It's going to get a little bit shaky. You can see I have my CRT here, my console's down at the floor along with a foot pedal down here. It's a little dark. And then I have my microphone here. It's actually sitting on a pile of socks, and this is just to mute any reverberations that come through this desk that it's sitting on. And then I have an LED lamp that is just bouncing against the wall. So it acts as kind of a bounce board. And it just lights my face up. And speaking of lighting, I actually have a two light setup. The first is this LED lamp. So it's got a flexible neck, and I didn't like it when it was shining directly at me, and it's very bright. And even if I turn the brightness down, I still have this bright white light shining directly at me. I didn't like that very much, so instead I just bounce it against the wall, and it acts as a bounce board, and it lights my face. In addition to this, if I turn this off, you can see that I'm still lit on this side. Now, I normally stream at night, so natural light isn't really an option. And I like to keep it dark because it's a big eye strain for me when I have a bunch of bright lights on. I used to keep that lamp in the background on, but I prefer to keep it dark, just a personal preference. But I still need some light touching my face. And so in addition to this, I have a second light, which is an Excel spreadsheet on my second monitor. So if I cover that up by using Discord, which is in dark mode, you can see that now I only have a little bit of light coming from the CRT and what's currently in the room. I turn the LED lamp back on. It bounces against the wall. I am somewhat lit. And now I am fully lit with two lights coming at me, one from this direction and one from this direction. There are better lighting tutorials out there, but this is just what I had and what works for me. So you may want have a light shining directly at you, and most lighting setups would have something like that. And if you look on Amazon for like a 3-point lighting setup, they're gonna have these big lights inside containers that have kind of a white cover in the front. It's like a big square with one white side. And what those do is if you have this light shining at you, man, that's really bright, you can diffuse the light by putting a cover in front of it. So this is a nightmare to have in front of my face. But if I take just a piece of printer paper, I just cut this into a cylinder and taped it together. I take this piece of printer paper and slide it over. The light has now been diffused. It's not nearly as bright, and it spreads more evenly across my face. So this is with the piece of paper on, piece of paper off. So very cheap, and if I cover up my spreadsheet, which is lighting me, so now I have more even light compared to this mess. So pretty neat. Let's fix my lighting setup back to where it was. And we can move on to the camera. So for the camera, I use a Logitech C920. This is what everyone uses as far as I know. So if you talk to a retro streamer, chances are they're using a Logitech C920 or something similar, something in the same vein. There are better webcams out there that you can get, and there's certainly better quality cameras that you can get, but this one works just fine. I wouldn't suggest getting anything else. At the quality that you're going to want to stream, this hits the bar. So it's cheap, it's easy to install, it works just fine. It has plenty of settings that you can very easily manipulate. And it has two little blue lights on the side that light up when you're actually live, like when the camera is activated, which is very useful, especially if you're streaming in a place that you are normally in, like your bedroom. So you want to be able to know whether that's on or off. So Logitech C920, very good. I will be putting links to buy these things in the description of the video, and they're all going to be affiliate links, but they're not going to be affiliate links for me. There's actually going to be affiliate links for a Twitch streamer named Arcus, and he plays mostly retro games. He's the world record holder currently for Ninja Gaiden 1, but he is where I took most of this stuff from. So I learned by watching his stream and commands he had that said like what equipment he had. And so this is just a way to kind of pay him back, because without watching him, I wouldn't have known a lot of this stuff, and I wouldn't have had real world examples. So affiliate links in the bottom. If you don't want it to be an affiliate link, you can just search for that product yourself. So microphone, you saw that I had a microphone sitting on a pile of socks just to mute any sounds that might be coming up if I accidentally bump a desk or move a drawer. I use a AT2020, and it's not a bad microphone, but it's a little outdated. It's just what I had when I started streaming. Most streamers I know of use something like a Blue Yeti microphone, and for anywhere between like 90 and 120 bucks, you're going to get a microphone that will last you forever, and it's going to be of very high quality. There are lots of filters and things that you can turn on. I'll go over those settings later. But AT2020 is what I use, and Blue Yeti is what most other people use. Really, any high quality to mid quality level microphone is going to work. Just don't use a microphone in your webcam. Those generally aren't acceptable. But past that, you should be good. Just don't skip on the microphone. LiveSplit is a free software program. It's actually this black bar that you see on the side that has each of the text lines that shows what I'm going over. This is what we use to track our progress. It's not mandatory, but if you are running a game and you're streaming on Twitch, people like to come in and see whether you're on pace or not. So if the numbers are green, that means you're doing great. If they're red, that means you're behind. If it's gold, that means it's the best you've ever done for that split. And you can do things like track how many attempts you have. So you can see in the top right corner, this says 1 out of 2, which means I actually completed one run of this tutorial before. I didn't like it. It was missing stuff. So I'm doing it again. But you can see that kind of stuff, add it to LiveSplit, and you can customize it, make it your own. It's entirely free, and there's tons of tutorials that'll show you all the settings you can do. Just search on Google for LiveSplit, download it, don't pay a dime for it, and then you have a free program. That clunking sound you heard was a foot pedal. Specifically, a foot pedal that looks like this. So I will put a link to this foot pedal, or whatever is the most common advancement of it. I think this one's actually not made anymore, but I'll put a link to it in the description. Yeah, it's the Infinity USB 1, and I think it's something else now. If you are searching for this on eBay, like if you say, I want this exact pedal, I don't want the updated one, I want the one that is in this tutorial, be very careful, because there are multiple extensions from this, and they're not all USBs. Sometimes it's like a weird phone jack or something like that. Don't buy those. You want the USB version. You don't need a foot pedal, but when I started using LiveSplit, I was using the numpad. So I was pressing 1 on the numpad to move through the splits. That's the default. But I had to take my hand off the controller to do it. And so I wasn't able to have splits in all the places I wanted, because sometimes I would need to hit the split button and press a button immediately after, and I would end up losing time by reaching over to press the split button. So the foot pedal made it way easier, and it makes a really satisfying clunk sound. Flashcard and emulator. So when you get started, if you don't have all the equipment, like say an NES, that's fine. You can still stream and speedrun these games. I started on an emulator. I used something called FCEUX, and it wasn't the best emulator in the world. I would suggest using something called Mesen, M-E-S-E-N. They're both free downloads, but if you have the ROM files, you can play the NES games on your actual PC. So if that's the case, you don't need CRT or an NES or an NES controller. You don't have to clean any of that. You don't have to buy it off eBay. You don't have to worry about whether it works or not. It's all on your computer, and it's a great way to get started. The one problem with using an emulator is that there is lag. There's going to be lag from your monitor, and there's going to be lag from the emulator itself. So I won't go into too much detail about why there is lag, but just know that there is. Even if you have like the best gaming monitor ever, there's going to be frame delay from when you press buttons. and when it actually happens on screen. When I first started, it didn't bother me at all, but I can't play on emulator anymore because I've been playing on console for so long now that it's very apparent that there's delay. Now, if you want to kind of move on from emulator, or you just want to start off playing on actual console, there are two things called flash carts that you can use. Power Pack and EverDrive are the two most popular that I know of, and they both work, but personally I use the EverDrive, and it's what I would suggest. So if you're going to use an EverDrive, what you would do is you would get an SD card, and then you organize your files by folders. And so here you can see each of these are folders. So I could move on to ROMs that I put in a folder that just is titled Important ROMs. So I open this up, I have more folders. And these folders are created just the same way you would create any other folder on your computer. Just right click, create new folder, name it. And I created a folder for each game that I wanted. So if I open up Wolverine, now I have these things called SRM files. And these were all manually created by me. So what I would do is I would right click on the background, create new, and I'd create a new file, and I would name it level1.srm. So I'm just typing in that extension, and then level2.srm, level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many you need. There's no real limit to how many save state files you can have. And then I would copy the ROM in. What this allows you to do is you can input a save state command. So when you are playing in an EverDrive, what it allows you to do is if you press the save state command, for me it's down and select, you can then save something to the EverDrive itself. And so you have two options that you can use with that save state that you currently have saved. So if I am playing Wolverine here, we'll load this up. I'm playing Wolverine here, and I get to a part that I want to practice. It's something that's been giving me trouble, and I want to do save states. I can say, all right, I have trouble with this jump right here for whatever reason. I input my save state command, which you can customize. Mine is down and select. The screen blinks for a second, so it shows you I've saved. And this is also good for recording, because it means we can use an EverDrive for speedrunning. And now, if I'm playing, oops, I missed my jump, I can press start and select at the same time, which is what I've selected for load, and it brings me back. I can load it as many times as I want. And if I want to save this save state forever, I can hold down reset. This will take me back to the EverDrive menu. I can say, I want to save this on level1.srm. I'll select this, and there's two options here, file to SRAM and SRAM to file. SRAM to file takes your current save state, and it saves it to that SRM file. File to SRAM takes the save state for this file, this level6.srm, and then it moves it onto your current save state that you've got selected. So now I can load that save state, and which was a level 6 save state that I created. So that is how you would do save states for an EverDrive. And if you don't do this, if you don't create all these SRM files, you're only going to have one save state per file, and it's kind of a mess. It's way better to create a bunch of these. And something that speeds the process up for me is I created a folder called ZZZ empty save, so it's always at the bottom. And all it is 10 SRM files. And so I will copy that folder, paste it, rename the folder, and then drag the ROM into that folder. And now I have my folder set up with all the save states that I need. So that is the EverDrive. There's other tutorials out there for the Power Pack, and you might find some additional information about EverDrives or new versions of EverDrives if you're watching this in the future. But I would highly recommend switching to console and an EverDrive as quickly as possible. Now I do have a lot of carts, and all the games that I run, I basically have the cart anyway. But carts are old now. They have grime on them, and the connector for the NES has grime on it. And no matter how much you clean it, it's from the 80s, it's going to have trouble. And you don't want to be in the middle of the run and suddenly get a green screen pop up and your screen start blinking. So EverDrive is a good way of ensuring that you don't have that happen. Capture card. So for a capture card, I can't lift it up because it doesn't reach when it's plugged into my computer, but I use something called a GV USB 2. And I took this directly from Arcus's stream, and a lot of other runners use this. It's very simple. It's just a USB that plugs into your computer, and then there is a splitter that you use. So I have, let's see if I can move this camera. So if you can see here, I have two sets coming in here, my TV, and this set goes to the GV USB 2, and you can see I've only got yellow and white for I've only got yellow and white for this. I'm using the wrong cables, but it doesn't matter. And this one goes to the GV USB 2. This one goes to the NES. And then it plugged into my TV. And then I load that up into OBS Studio, and that allows me to capture my game. And there's no real lag or latency. It doesn't really change anything. Depending on how your TV is set up, you might have a little bit of a darker screen when you have the component split, but that's fine. It's not too expensive. It is in Japanese when you get it, so you might want to look on YouTube for a installation tutorial. They're all over YouTube, but I was able to do it just fine. It's basically like installing anything else. You just click next a lot. That's the GV USB 2. We already went over creating save states with the EverDrive. I did that earlier, so we're just gonna skip that. OBS Studio. So OBS Studio is a free program, and I am currently on OBS 24.0.3. That is the version I'm on, just in case you're watching this in the future and they've updated. There's lots of different versions of this. So there's like Streamlabs OBS, there's regular OBS, there's OBS Classic, and they're all different in small ways. But OBS Studio should work for you. I've never had any problems with it whatsoever. I'm not going to go over anything too fancy, but if you click on File and then Settings in an OBS Studio, there are two options. I'm not going to show you because it's got stuff like my stream key, which you don't want to publicize. But if you click File, Settings, and then Output, there's an option for video bitrate. I have mine set at 3,000 kilobytes per second, so it says 3,000 kbps. You can set it to lower if your internet connection's not quite as good, or if people have trouble watching your stream, or you can set it to higher if you want it to be better quality, but it's worked for me. You do put in your stream key under the stream option in settings, and you don't want to show that to anybody because once someone has your stream key, they can stream to your channel. So you would click on stream, change your service to Twitch, and then put in your stream key, and that will get you started there. And that is OBS Studio. There's tons of tutorials online that can go way more into depth than this, but that will get you started. For camera settings, so let's switch here. So this is my Logitech HD Pro Webcam C920. So Logitech C920. When I scroll down to my webcam and I right click on it, this is in OBS, and I select Properties, I'm given an option to configure video. And right at the start, there's an option to disable autofocus, which you want to disable because otherwise it does this a lot automatically. You don't want that. And if you select advanced settings, you get the screen that you have right now. And in the top left, there's something called right light, which is selected by default. You want to turn that off. And you also want to deselect anything that says auto. Now, for some reason, the Logitech C920 will still automatically change things like your gain. I don't know why, but it does. But you can slide these around to make it whatever you want. I change my exposure to be a little bit high because I stream in the dark. It makes me a little overexposed, but it's fine. My white balance, I swing a little bit to the right because by default, it likes to do this and make everything blue. And to get like natural colors for my room, I have to swing it pretty far to the right. And it also gives it a bit of a warmer feel, which I like. These are just settings I personally use. I don't recommend you just copy them verbatim. It's probably not going to work for you. You'd want to fiddle with these settings and get the look that you want. And speaking of look, there are things called LUTs, lookup tables. So these are color lookup tables. And if I right click on webcam, down at the very bottom, right above properties, there's a thing that says filters. And what you can do with filters is create something called an effect filter. So if you want to sharpen or crop or ped or use color correction or lookup tables, you can do that here, and you can stack these on top. So this is what my camera looks like with these lookup tables on, But if I turn them off, this is what my camera looks like naturally, just with this light. So you can see there's kind of like a gray haze, just kind of over everything. And this is something that you would see in movies as they turn on color correction. So now the darks are a bit darker, the lights are a bit lighter. So you can see the difference with this color correction. There's also a lookup table. This one's called McCall, and you can find these for free. But this kind of changes the colors. And looking back here, like this, with it on, it's a little bit more accurate to what my actual room looks like. This just changes how your camera interprets these colors. And so when I turn everything on, this is what it looks like. But it doesn't have to necessarily look like this. So I could turn off the McCall, and then I can have a horror cam. So this is like something you'd see from a CCTV. I could make it grayscale if you didn't want to worry about color or things like that. You can isolate certain colors. So now only the red has color, everything else is grayscale. You can change the color. So this makes me have different color skin. My hair's got a blue tint, and the walls are kind of like an aqua color instead of green. But you can do all sorts of stuff with these. And so if you want to find a lookup table that can fix your camera or just give it its own personal feel, you can find lookup tables online for free. Just Google lookup table and then you'll find them. So mic settings. These are super important. One of the things that people tend to do when they're streaming is have background noises going on. I personally have a heat pump in my house that heats my house, and it's great, except it's almost always on in the winter. And if I'm silent, you can't hear it. But if I'm talking, you might hear that little in the background. And the reason you can't hear it when I'm not talking is because of these audio settings. So if you right click on the microphone source, or if you click on the settings gear, the settings gear on the microphone source under the audio mixer in OBS, and you select filters, then you have the ability to add audio filters. So if I turn everything off, my gain, noise suppression, and noise gate, now it's going to sound a little bit different. You might hear a little bit of extra noise. There's not too much going on in the house right now, but I do have, just turn them back on. I do have 2 kids, and if I'm streaming and they're awake, they might be screaming from another room or stomping or throwing toys or whatever. I don't want that on stream, and I don't want to hear like a noise from the bathroom. I don't want to hear a fan, and I have a space heater sitting behind me, and I want to turn that on sometimes. And to turn those off, I use these 3. So noise gate, which is you see at the top of this image here. I have a closed threshold and an open threshold. And the attack time, you want between 15 and 25 milliseconds to determine when it activates. But basically this says you've got to be at a certain volume before things can, before it's going to start recording your audio. Noise suppression is very similar. You just have to mess with this setting to kind of drown out the noise. So what I did is I just recorded myself and dragged the suppression level until when I was silent, I couldn't hear the heater running anymore. And at the bottom, I have gain. And you don't necessarily need this. Like I don't have my microphone volume dragged all the way to the right, but I turned up gain anyway. And this increases the volume of my microphone. And this allows me to have more control. So rather than dragging my microphone all the way to the right and then adding gain, I put it closer to like the middle 3/4 area, and then I added gain, so now I can increase or decrease my volume at will just through the audio mixer. So those are mic settings. Now, as far as speedrunning in a community, speedrun.com is where you go to post speedruns. There used to be a site called Speed Demos Archives. It's still up, but no one really uses it anymore. There's like Twin Galaxies that no one really cares about. It's all speedrun.com. If it's not on speedrun.com, it probably isn't being watched. There are a few independent sites out there. I know Mega Man runs have their own site, but the Mega Man community is actually kind of isolated. There's not a lot of crossover that there could be, and it's because they're not on speedrun.com. So if you're looking for a game, it's probably going to be on speedrun.com. So on speedrun.com, you can see a list of games by type. So I have this organized by NES and the most active. So at the time of recording this, these are the games that are being played the most. You can find some surprising games. So like here's Home Alone for the NES, Battle City and Where's Waldo is hanging out with Super Mario Brothers and The Legend of Zelda. But you can find all sorts of games that you might not know about. I never played Rygar as a kid. Like I played some of these more popular games, but I never really played Willow like in a speedrun capacity. And now that I can see it here, I can just open it up, watch the speedrun, learn how they do it, copy it, and then try to improve upon it myself. So you can find all sorts of interesting games, and it's got every NES game that anyone has ever run. If you know of an NES game and it's not here, you can actually submit your own game and you can get the world record that way. So if you open a board, so we're going to open up The Legend of Zelda here. If you open a board, you're going to find a list of runs, and speedrun.com is being a little bit slow right now. You can also find a list of every run that any person has made. So this is my own profile on speedrun.com, and I can scroll down and I can find games that I've run in the past and click on it to see that run. Or I can click on the category here to go to that board and see the entire board. But this is a good way to find a runner that you might have found on Twitch and then see what speedruns have they done in the past. You can find them on speedrun.com, search for their name here, and then open their profile. When you open up a board, there's going to be multiple categories. So here's any percent no up and A, the any percent category, 100% no up and A. These all have different rules, and you can click the View Rules button, and it will show you the rules for what the game is. Now, sometimes the rules can be complicated. So this is telling you exactly what items that you need, what you have to do in order to fit this category, because it's 100%, you need everything, and everything is defined by those rules. If you have questions about this, you can open up the forum on the left, and you can make a post, or you can message any of these moderators in the corner. And for the most part, everyone in the retro community is pretty nice, and they're very helpful, and they will answer questions you have. People ask the standard beginner questions all the time in the forums, and I've never seen anyone actually been chastised for it. Everyone's always been super helpful to them, and it's great. If you're more competitive and you want to enter into races, there are lots of opportunities. There are a couple of different racing websites, and you can do races for individual games. But in general, if you want to race, you're either going to be racing one game, and you're going to be racing against the people that are currently running that game, or you're going to be running in something like a marathon event. So there are two main NES marathon events that happen each year, and it's the Big 20, and this happens twice a year. They're releasing their games for the 2020 winter Big 20 on February 1st. So February 1st, 2020 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they'll be revealing 20 games, and everyone has to beat the goal for those 20 games. And with the Big 20, the goal isn't necessarily full game, so it could be like The Legend of Zelda beat Dungeon 1, and that's it. You move on from the next game. But you have 20 games. Generally, the goal is about 3 hours. And the Nescathlon is often in the summer, and they give you 10 games, but every game is a full goal game. So you use the rules that are currently on speedrun.com. And both are good for different reasons, but if you are competitive and you want something to shoot for, I highly recommend joining them. You don't have to join to win. There's no prizes. It's just a challenge that you can give yourself. So I would recommend it. I ran in one of the Big 20s very early on, and I ran in the Nescathlon not too long after, just like 5-6 months after the first Big 20 that I entered. I ran in the Nescathlon. I enjoyed them both. So I would recommend looking at these because you get exposed to games that you would otherwise not play, and it's a lot of fun running with a community and finding strats together. If you are not competitive and you want collaborative events, most of the time this is going to be done by communities that currently exist in the speedrunning community. So I know Best of NES, which are the people that host the Big 20, they also do NES marathons where you can submit a game, and then this would be a game you know well, and you stream to their channel during this event, and everyone gets to see you playing this game and you giving commentary. And RGL TV, the people that stream the Nescathlon, they do the same thing. They have their own NES stream where people are streaming games that they know very well, and there's tons of special events like that, and everyone has probably heard of things like GDQ, and you can submit games to that. So if you are really good at a retro game and you think other people need to see this, they would enjoy it, submit to those charity events, submit to these online events, and it's a good way to meet people in the community. So This went on for longer than it probably should have. If I had a script, it would be better, but I just wanted to throw something together and put everything in one spot. I will add the links to everything in the description so you can just buy everything you need. But if you want to get started and you want to spend as little as possible, all you need is a PC, an emulator, and the ROM of the file that you want. You can download LiveSplit for free, you can download OBS for free, and then you can stream to Twitch for free. You don't necessarily need a microphone, you don't necessarily need a camera, but I would recommend it. People would come to my channel and just kind of stay for a little bit when I was streaming without a webcam. They wouldn't stay at all when I didn't have a microphone. And when I added a webcam, people started staying longer and viewers started coming in more regularly. So I would recommend getting a webcam and a microphone, getting a decent lighting setup as early as possible, because it really does make it more fun to speedrun when other people are there to cheer you on and give you other games to play.